The NFL preseason is very quickly on its way. The Detroit Lions have already begun their voluntary workouts, and OTAs are quick to follow. In this offseason, more so than any in the past, there are a number of players looking to prove their spots on this roster, so to solidify their roles, find their spots, and make sure that they are among the final 53 members when week one eventually rolls around. And those are the positions that we're going to take a look at today. Positions and players that a lot of people don't know which way it's going to go. They don't know who's going to start at a certain role. They don't know how much playing time a certain player is going to get. And this preseason is vital in order for those players to stand out and succeed. And today, we're going to take a look at those positional battles, starting off with maybe the biggest one on the roster, that being the guard position. And not just the left guard, not just the right guard, but both of the members from that interior unit. And there are a lot of good players that could potentially find their way onto the roster. Graham Glasgow, of course, is the first one, the veteran player who's been with the Detroit Lions for a number of years, took a short stint in Denver, but then returned back to Michigan, where his alma mater is from, where he was drafted, and where he will likely finish his NFL career. Christian Mahogany, the standout rookie from a season ago, has a very limited snap set, but has shown a lot of ability in that small sample size. He is a player that has shown out immediately for the Detroit Lions offensive line and looks to be a plug-and-play player for the next 3 to 4 seasons until his rookie contract is up. Tate Ratledge, the second-round pick from this most recent class, the guard from Georgia that was widely regarded by some as the best guard in the class. There were some that had him graded higher than guys like Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson, and he is one of the best, well-rounded, and most polished guards in this class, who is looking to make his immediate impact felt in the NFL. You have guys like Miles Frazier, who was a later round pick, but was widely regarded as a good value steal in this draft class. He is very capable of starting on an offensive line in the NFL. And then you have the other veterans, Colby Sorsdale, who has started games for the Detroit Lions, Coyote Owashia, who started the NFC Championship game for the Lions back in 2023, and even guys like Matane Moody, who had a great preseason a year ago, and the Lions really like to keep around and feel as though they have something special in the depth there as well. Going a little bit more in-depth on some of these players, last season, Graham Glasgow really struggled. With 1,080 snaps played, 6 penalties, and 4 sacks allowed, he was graded at just a 57.9 Pro Football Focus grade, ranking him as the 85th best guard in the NFL of the possible 136. His 6 penalties allowed ranked 105th across all guards in the league, and his sacks ranked 110th among those 136 guards. He really struggled in the last year of his career, and he's coming back this year a little bit healthier, a little bit more on track, and potentially with getting back on track to where he was 2 seasons ago. But if he can't do that, if he continues to struggle, if his age and lack of athleticism continues to show, we could see Graham Glasgow potentially take a back seat to some of the younger, more talented, more high upside players that the Detroit Lions potentially have waiting in the wings. Christian Mahogany last season had a, again, very limited sample size, but a good sample size at that. 75 snaps, 1 penalty, and 0 sacks allowed with an 81.6 Pro Football Focus grade. He ranked 7th among all guards in professional football. His 82.6 pass blocking grade ranked 4th, and his 80.8 run blocking grade ranked him as the 10th best guard across the NFL in run blocking. Again, the sample size is small, but if you take a look at what he did in Chicago at left guard and then against Washington at right guard, he was fantastic at both positions. He was one of the best guards in the NFL when he was playing a season ago, and I think if he's given more opportunity, we're going to see more of the same, more nasty run blocking, more really polished pass protection, and really just a good, strong, young player for this offensive line to utilize over the next 3 to 4 seasons while staying incredibly cheap and very, very affordable. Tate Ratledge played 500 snaps last year for the Georgia Bulldogs, allowed a single sack and 2 quarterback hits with a 74.4 Pro Football Focus grade. He is a phenomenal athlete at the position. He is great at getting to the second level, fantastic at run blocking, good at pass protection, good at picking up stunts, and really overall is a very strong candidate to start at the right guard position. He doesn't quite have the versatility of maybe a Christian Mahogany, Miles Frazier, or Graham Glasgow, but he is one of the best players on this offensive line on day one, and he will certainly be pushing for a spot there as well. And then you have Matt Frazier, right? A guy that played 902 snaps in the SEC a season ago, has played everything from left tackle to right tackle and everything in between. He allowed 0 sacks a season ago and just a single quarterback hit on Grant Nussmeier, hit a 70.3 Pro Football Focus grade, and overall is a really strong candidate as well. If you were to ask me, I think the guard position is going to be Christian Mahogany at left guard and Tate Ratledge at right guard. I think those are the two best players you have at the position as of right now, with Graham Glasgow being the primary backup to not only the both guard positions, but to Frank Ragnow at center as well. His role will still be very important. Offensive line injuries happen all the time across the league, but if I were to guess a healthy week 1 starting rotation, I think it's going to be Christian Mahogany at left guard, and I think it's going to be Tate Ratledge at the right guard position, with, of course, Decker, Ragnow, and Sewell at the positions they've been playing for the last couple of years. Moving over to the slot cornerback position, this is a really interesting battle. It's going to come down likely between Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Avonte Maddox has thrown his hat in the ring as well, being a primary slot cornerback for the Eagles over the last couple of years, but I think just based off the contract and based off the expectations, it's really going to come down between Robertson and Rakestraw for this position. Amik Robertson played it all of last year, played in 15 games for the Detroit Lions where he allowed 88 targets, 54 receptions for a 61.4% completion rate, 632 yards from the slot, and 2 touchdowns in coverage. He was a good player. He brought a lot of physicality. He brought a great mentality and a good just attitude to this run defense, to this secondary, and was a big part of why the Detroit Lions secondary was so strong a season ago. Now, he didn't walk away with an interception, but made several big plays from the run game and had a bunch of crucial pass breakups throughout his time as the slot cornerback. Ennis Rakestraw, the second-year player, does have a little bit less to show. Has only played in the preseason, where in his 29 snaps, he allowed 3 targets, 1 reception for 0 yards. However, he was projected to start in the secondary and start at slot cornerback in week 2's matchup versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was warming up for it. They had prepared him for it all week. He was ready mentally. He was ready physically. And then unfortunately in warmups, he ended up tearing his hamstring that kept him out of the NFL season for the remainder of his rookie year. It was heartbreaking and really unfortunate for Ennis Rakestraw to go through that, but now that he's coming back, now that he's healed from the hamstring, he is a player that is very much in line to have a shot at this starting slot cornerback. He's a little bigger than Amik Robertson, a little more physical than Amik Robertson, a little longer than Amik Robertson. I think hits a little bit harder than Amik Robertson, and even though Amik had a very good season, there's a reason that Ennis was going to start. There's a reason that they trusted him in order to do so. And I think we're going to see a really good version of Ennis Rakestraw in the 2025 season. And we're going to get to see what he would have been as a rookie. And I think it's going to be really impactful. Again, if I had to pick, I think Ennis Rakestraw will end up winning this battle, but I wouldn't be surprised if Amik ends up finding a way back into the secondary and back into the starting rotation, because he is a really solid player. I think he's going to be the primary backup on the boundary, the primary backup in the slot, and very much in a Graham Glasgow-esque role, still be very important to the secondary, still play a number of snaps this year as injuries arise, but maybe not be the week 1 starter, or maybe not be the primary option for the secondary to look to in order to succeed. Defensive end is, of course, going to be on this list, with a number of players potentially looking for the spot. Marcus Davenport, Al-Qudain Muhammad, Ahmad Hassanin, Isaac Uku, and Josh Paschal all have a case for being the primary edge rusher 2 across from Aiden Hutchinson. Starting off with Marcus Davenport, I think he is by far the best player of this group. He has great size, great power, and is a really good pass rusher. When he is healthy, I think it's easy to argue he is a top 32 edge rusher in football. I think it's even easier to argue that he is a top 50 edge rusher in football, meaning he is easily within that second tier of edge rushers that NFL teams would look for production, for size, for traits, and everything to throw in that bucket. The problem, of course, being he hasn't been healthy for the last 2 seasons and has never completed a full 16 or 17 game NFL season. He is by far the best player the Lions have to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. We saw it against the Rams. We saw it against the Cardinals before he got hurt. The defensive line is really good and incredibly disruptive when Marcus Davenport is on the field. But again, how much faith can you put in a player who's never successfully completed a full year? Josh Paschal, I think, is the second best option for this. He is the best run stopper on the team next to Aiden Hutchinson on the boundary. He's powerful, he's disruptive, but of course lacks that pass rushing production. He is a very power over finesse player, doesn't have the best hands, is really a bull rush one trick pony, but is really good at setting the edge, is really good at run defending, and can get you 2 to 3 sacks a season. Is he the best option for the Lions? Probably not, but he is going to see quite a bit of playing time because of his ability to set the edge, because of his ability to stop the run. He makes him a valuable piece to this defensive line, and I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Isaac Ukwu last year had a great preseason, 3 sacks in 3 games, and I think could be a very young potential pass rushing specialist. I know that guys like Kelvin Shepard, the new defensive coordinator, said they don't want a defensive pass rush specialist. They don't want a guy that can only play on third down or can only play on obvious pass rushing situations. But I think if he can contribute on special teams and be a pass rushing specialist, that is reason enough to keep him around. And even if he's not going to play a bunch, even if he plays the James Houston role from a season ago, where he's going to play 3, 4, 5 snaps a game, but could get a pressure, could get a sack here and there, I think that is reason enough to keep him around and keep him valuable to the Detroit Lions roster. Al-Quadin Muhammad last year stood out as a pass rusher, 3 sacks in 9 games, is a little bit on the smaller side, but showed last year that he is very capable of playing at an NFL level, very capable of contributing to an NFL defensive line. And even if he's not the best option, I do think he is a strong contributor for a depth piece that could continue to find work throughout the NFL and with the Detroit Lions. Then you have Ahmad Hassanin, a very productive player, a very raw player with immense upside, a player that has only been playing football for the past 4 to 5 seasons. He didn't really play football until he moved back to America, played for Boise State, in which he had almost 30 sacks as a Bronco over the last 3 years. He has taken incredible steps forward through the first couple years of his collegiate career, and I think the upside is immense. I think this is one of those players that if we look back in 3 to 4 years and he's a starter and he's averaging 6 to 7 sacks a year and he is really the primary guy next to Aiden Hutchinson, we're all going to look at it and say, well, yeah, that was pretty obvious in hindsight, but he does have to keep taking those steps forward. He is a raw prospect, but he's a good athlete. He has good size. He has the perfect mentality for it. He does a lot of things really well that other defensive ends don't, and I think he has a bright future in the NFL, but do you want to rely on that rookie 6th round pick to be the standout player on your defense if Aiden Hutchinson is to go down? That is, of course, a risky game to be playing. If the Detroit Lions had to pick a player today, I think Marcus Davenport is far and away the best option, but I think we're going to just see a rotation of guys. I think we're going to see Davenport mixed with some Paschal, mixed with some Isaac Ukwu, mixed with some Al-Quadin Muhammad, mixed with some Ahmad Hassanin. And I don't think the Lions are truly going to have an edge rusher too. They, of course, will by snap count and by statistics, but I don't think they're going to really have a second edge rusher. They're going to have a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th edge rusher all rotating in to contribute sacks, to contribute pressure, to contribute snap counts and run defending statistics. And I think they're really going to kind of lean into this pass rushing by committee to keep everybody fresh, to keep everybody on the field, and to make sure that what happened a year ago doesn't happen again to any of their defensive linemen. And then the final position we're going to take a look at today is defensive tackle roles, where I do think there's a number of battles. I think you're going to see Levi Onwuzurike versus Mekhi Wingo for that interior pass rushing specialist. I think you're going to see a really good battle for a DJ Reader, Tyleik Williams, and Levi Onwuzurike for who gets on the field early and who plays the early downs of football. And I think the back end of this defensive tackle role as well, guys like Broderick Martin versus Myles Adams versus Pat O'Connor, will be really interesting. I think if a guy like Broderick Martin can beat out Myles Adams and Pat O'Connor, I think that's going to speak volumes to his progression from year 3 to year 4 and really speak volumes to him as a player for how far he is growing. Those are players he didn't play over last year, players he couldn't play over a season ago. So if he finds a way to beat those guys out for the bottom of the roster, I think that's going to be a fun battle to watch in the preseason, as well as a number of really fun players to watch throughout the first 4 preseason contests. So with that being said, that is my ranking for the top camp battles this year. I think each and every one of these battles is going to be fun to watch in the preseason. Each and every one of these battles has really good competitors and really good opponents for each other. And I think whatever ends up happening, whoever ends up starting at guard, whoever ends up starting at defensive end, whoever ends up starting at, slot cornerback or defensive tackle is going to be the best player. And I think regardless of what happens, the Detroit Lions are better, deeper, and far more qualified to make a Super Bowl run this year than they were a season ago. So with all of that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below your opinions on the top camp battles for this team. What players are you looking out for the most? What positions are you going to be watching this preseason? I'd love to hear your comments down below. With all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.